Hi everyone, I am R. Smarthi of first MSc Biochemistry from Triple B College, Virudhunagar. In this video uploaded by the under the guidance of Dr. R. Gloria Jimmy Christabel, MSc MPhil PhD, Assistant Professor, Department of Biochemistry. In this video, I would explain to the basic structure and functions of the plasma membranes. Definition. The plasma membrane of a cell is a network of lipids and proteins that forms the boundary between a cell contents and outside of the cell. It is also simply called the cell membrane. The main function of the plasma membrane is to protect the cell from its surrounding environment. It is semi-permeable and regulates the materials that enter and exit the cell. The cells of all living things have plasma membranes. The structure of the plasma membrane. The structure of the plasma membrane mainly contributed to the phospholipids, proteins and carbohydrates. They first say about the phospholipids. The membrane is partially made up of molecules called phospholipids, which spontaneously arrange themselves into a double layer with hydrophilic heads on the outside, hydrophobic tails on the inside. This interaction with water or what allow plasma membranes to form. Proteins. Proteins are wedged between the lipids that make up the membrane, and these transmembrane proteins allow molecules that could not enter the cell otherwise to pass through by forming channels, pores, or gates. In this way, the cell controls the flow of these molecules as they enter and exist. Protein in the cell membrane play a role in many other functions such as cell signaling, cell recognition, and enzyme activity. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are also found in the plasma membrane. Specifically, most carbohydrates in the membrane are part of glycoproteins, which are formed when a carbohydrate is attached to a protein. Glycoproteins play a role in the interaction between cells, including the cell adhesion, the process by which cells attach to each other. Functions. A physical barrier. The plasma membrane surrounds all cells and physically separates the cytoplasm, which is the material that make up the cell, from the extracellular fluid outside the cell. This protects all the components of the cell from the outside environment and allows separate activities to occur inside and outside the cell. The plasma membrane provides the structural support to the cell. It detects the cytoskeleton, which is the network of protein filaments inside the cell that hold all the parts of the cell in place. This gives the cell its shape. Certain organisms such as plants and fungi have a cell wall in addition to the membrane. The cell wall is composed of molecules such as cellulose. It provides additional support to the cell, and it is why plant cells do not burst like animal cells do if too much water diffuse into them. Selective permeability. Plasma membranes are selectively permeable or semi-permeable, meaning that only certain molecules can pass through them. Water, oxygen, and carbon dioxide can essentially travel through the membrane. Generally, ions and polar molecules cannot pass through the membrane. They must go through specific channels or pores in the membrane instead of free diffusing through. This way, the membranes can control the rate at which certain molecules can enter and exit the cell. Endocytosis and exocytosis. Endocytosis is in a when a cell ingests relatively larger contents than a signal ions or molecules that pass through the channels. Through endocytosis, a cell can take in a large quantity of the molecules or even whole bacteria from the extracellular fluid. Exocytosis is when the cell releases these materials. The cell membrane plays an important role in both of these processes. The shape of the membrane itself changes to allow the molecules to enter and exit the cell. It also forms vacuoles, small bubbles of the membrane that can transport many molecules at once in order to transport materials to different places in the cells. Cell signaling. Another important function of the membrane is to facilitate communication and signaling between the cells. It does so through the use of various proteins and carbohydrates in the membrane. Protein on the cell mark that cell so that other cells can identify it. The membrane also has receptors that allow it to carry out certain tasks when molecules such as hormones bind to those receptors. I hope you will get a clear idea for plasma membranes. Thank you for watching this video.